Welcome everyone. We'll begin in a minute. Welcome to the reception for Superintendent Carvalho. All right. Welcome everyone. Welcome one and all. Really excited to welcome you to our reception for our newest superintendent, Alberto Carvalho. My name is Ryan Smith. I serve as the Chief External Officer for the Partnership for LA Schools, and we're really delighted to have you here today to hear the voices of students, of families, of our community leaders, of our educators, as well as our superintendent, as we talk about what our hopes and expectations are for the district. I will remind you that we are recording this webinar for folks who were not able to make it in order to enjoy it in the future. So want to let you know that. And I'm happy that you've made it. Happy Thursday. Happy 2022. Happy belated Lunar New Year. Happy Black History Month, one and all. Thank you for attending the partnership's reception. And we're really excited, once again, delighted to have you. So we're actually hosting this reception in collaboration with 80 of LA's education, community-based, civil rights, philanthropic, and youth organizations from across our city. This is a welcome reception to our newest superintendent, but it's also a love letter to the students, to the families, to the educators and allies of LA Unified School District, who are the heart and soul of this region. Given the ongoing pandemic, and obviously we've all had challenges, but maybe outside the public health system, no other sector has been as impacted as our education system. So I want to take a moment to thank the countless teachers, administrators, classified staff, families who've remained vigilant and even more essential in this moment. Thank you so much for your support of our students. And of course, the reason we are here, I also want to applaud the over 500,000 students who continue to learn, grow, and lead each day in this new normal. We really honor you, we support you, and we thank you for your efforts. Well, as we continue to advance racial and social justice in this country, I'm reminded of my mentor, Dr. Tyrone Howard, who was actually just elected as president-elect of AERA. Congratulations, Dr. Howard. He said to me once that equity is about making communities whole. And it's in that same spirit that the Partnership for Los Angeles Schools was launched in 2007. The partnership is a nonprofit in-district partner of LA Unified that currently serves 13,000 students across 19 LA Unified schools in Watts, Boyle Heights in South LA. And I like to think of Watts, Boyle Heights in South LA as the jewels of Los Angeles. Our friends in Hockley, they'll say Watts is worth it. When we think about the deep history of the region, we cannot forget about Boyle Heights. When we think about what drives our city economically and culturally. We can't forget about South Los Angeles. So we are fortunate enough to serve those students in those regions. As an independent nonprofit, the partnership works within the LA Unified context, which includes honoring all collective bargaining agreements of its teachers and school staff. We are not a charter network, and we're happy to serve as an in-district partner to LA Unified. I do want to say that we are streaming on Facebook Live. So hello to all those people joining us on Facebook Live. We really appreciate you and value you, and welcome. A couple things. One, I want to make sure that we are inclusive, particularly of language. So I'm going to have our interpreter, Jose Reyes, give us some instructions for our monolingual Spanish speakers. And Jose, I hand it to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ryan. So as Mr. Ryan mentioned to you all, we are offering interpreting services for everyone who is monolingual, as there might be a Spanish participation in this meeting. So if you only speak English, please go to the bottom of your screen and find the icon of a quadriculated globe. Click on that. It'll give you a drop-down menu. In the drop-down menu, you'll choose English, of course, and you'll be connected to the interpreting function. This will not impede your being able to hear the original presentation when it's done in English. What happens when someone speaks Spanish is that you'll hear myself or my colleague, Gabriela Moya, interpreting to you into English what is being said in Spanish. Buenas tardes a todos y a todas, bienvenidos. Un placer estar con ustedes. Para los que desean escuchar esta transmisión, esta reunión en español, por favor vayan a la parte baja de su pantalla, ubiquen el icono de un globo terráqueo cuadriculado, pulsen en ese icono y les dará un menú desplegable. Al tener ese menú desplegable, elijan español, por favor, y podrán escuchar todo lo que aquí se diga y lo que se presente en español en voz de su servidor, José Martín Reyes, y mi colega Gabriela Moya. Pueden tomarse la libertad de participar cuando así se los indiquen los anfitriones en español, que les interpretaremos al inglés. Gracias. Back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Jose, and it's good to see you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the program. You'll see a really wonderful list of speakers, but I will say that we've centered this discussion to listen to the voices of students, our family members, our educators, and community leaders who will once again talk about their hopes and expectations for the district. And we really look forward to hearing our leaders as we think about the future of the work and as we welcome our new superintendent. Also, please take a look at the amazing leaders that you'll hear from today. We are collecting questions in our Q&A box below, and we will have a Q&A section towards the end of the program. So please, as you hear things, as things resonate, as questions come up, please submit those questions to us, and we'll be reviewing those throughout the program in order to inform our Q&A portion of the discussion. The other thing I'll say is we'll have 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A. And once again, we really do want your questions. Please submit them. Now, I just want to take a moment to thank our 80+ amazing co-sponsors who helped plan and promote the event, who collected videos, who submitted questions, who really framed the day for us. These represent a cross-section of fantastic organizations who have made strategic and important decisions and plans in order to put youth first in this city. So we want to thank you. You're seeing a number of their logos, but we also have a list of our community partners, which we'll put in the chat as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't have put on this reception without you. And by the way, a couple of housekeeping items. If you are using social media today, I hear that our new superintendent is actually very engaged on social media. So you may want to tweet and post along with us. We are using the hashtags that you're seeing in front of you. Also, please follow @PartnershipLA. Please follow the new superintendent. We look forward to seeing you on social media. And at the end of the day, we'll also have an exit ticket survey that we'd love for you to fill out. So once again, I think we want to center the voices of the folks who are really supporting the district, the folks who are leading in the work that they're doing. So we look forward to hearing from Board President Gomez and others later. But one thing I do want to do is make sure that we hear from your voices. We know we have teachers and educators from across the district, actually across the state, who are joining us today, as well as students and parents and community leaders. So we are going to take a poll right now on who is in the room. So you should have a poll popping up right now. If you could just take the next 30 seconds to fill that out, that would be great. All right, another 10 seconds. All right, and we can show the results. Hopefully you saw the results, and thank you once again for joining us. Without further ado, I want to hand and pass the mic to Board President Kelly Gomez. Kelly Gomez is a member of the Board of Education for LA Unified School District and represents Board District 6, which encompasses most of the East San Fernando Valley. And as a board member, she pushes to boost student readiness and to remove barriers to college and careers. I'm also happy to note that she served as a geometry teacher here in LA Unified along her journey. So without further ado, I pass the mic to Board President Gomez.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. Thank you, Ryan, the partnership team, and all of the amazing co-sponsors for having us today. It's great to join you all for the welcoming of our Superintendent of LA Unified, Alberto Carvalho. As you all know, the board launched its search process back in July with a robust community engagement effort. We heard from nearly 30,000 students, parents, staff, and community members about what we needed in our next leader. The board unanimously identified Alberto Carvalho as the leader our communities described. Superintendent Carvalho has a long track record of success and stability in Miami, deep experience as an educator, and a clear commitment to equity and serving our most vulnerable students well. And importantly, his personal story has parallels to so many of the students and families we serve. Since his official start last week, he has been visiting schools across our district to see firsthand the great things happening in LA Unified and to learn directly from our schools about where additional support is most needed. It's been powerful to witness his authentic connections with students, staff, and parents, and to see him already get to work on behalf of our kids. There are many immediate and long-term challenges facing LA Unified as we manage the ongoing pandemic and the long-term recovery. We know that our low-income communities and communities of color, like those I represent in the East Valley, have been devastated by the impacts of COVID, by systemic racism and longstanding inequities, which have become exacerbated over the last 2 years. That's why today's virtual gathering is so important. As Ryan mentioned, it's exactly these voices that our new superintendent needs to hear from. To best serve our kids, we as leaders must be firmly rooted in the lived experiences of our students, families, and staff. With the scale of both the challenge and the opportunity that lies before us, I am proud of our board for coming together and selecting a superintendent who can help us achieve the promise of a transformative public education for all of the kids and families we have the privilege of serving. To reach our board goals of college and career readiness, literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional wellness over the next 4 years, and to truly unleash the incredible promise of our kids, we must work together and channel our collective advocacy and power to tackle the work ahead. I'm confident that Superintendent Carvalho will work collaboratively with the board, our district employees, our families, and our community partners at every step of this journey. Our community partners are such an essential part of that work, and that is nowhere more evident than today's reception with literally hundreds of participants joining us. With that, thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that you do every day. Now, I would like to turn it over to my friend and the CEO for the Partnership for Los Angeles Schools, Joan Sullivan.
Thanks, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so looking forward to today's program and truly honored to be co-hosting this event with such an awesome array of partners. In my view, one of the things that sets LA Unified apart is all of you. That was my reflection when I first moved here, and that's my reflection now. It's this rich and powerful array of organizations working alongside of our district toward equal access to a quality education for all. I'm also excited today that we get to feature so many voices from our communities, parents, students, community partners, and educators. And really pleased that there are so many educators who are joining us for today's event. You know, I have been a teacher, I've been a principal, but never under these circumstances. And the past 2 years have been brutal, and I've watched in awe as our teachers and school leaders have adapted and persisted and inspired and innovated and loved our students. And you know, it's been a privilege to bear witness to that. And finally, thank you, Superintendent Carvalho, for saying yes to joining us at this event, for saying yes to joining us in Los Angeles. As far as I'm concerned, you know, thank you for agreeing to serve in a leadership role that is as important as any in our state. I really believe that. And like you, I moved to Los Angeles from the East, and I thought I'd just share one reflection from the past dozen or so years. So I think we all know that equity has become a sort of buzzword that means different things to different people, but I'll posit that real equity, real justice, real love for the students of Los Angeles requires us adults to do better and differently for schools and communities where the need is greatest. We can't let ourselves fall prey to the temptation of a one-size-fits-all approach, and we can't underestimate the forces of that temptation. So we aren't shooting for an even distribution of resources. We must routinely ask ourselves which schools will be most supported, which communities will see the greatest benefit, which positions will be prioritized, how can we invest in retention and improve working conditions for educators in high-need schools. And at the partnership, we work with 19 amazing schools, as Ryan mentioned. And even within this small group, I've learned the hard way that we have to radically differentiate our approach and our investment of resources. So my offering is that we must do everything in our power to ensure that those who are farthest from opportunity are at the front of the line when it comes to how we make decisions and how we allocate all manner of resources. That's the LA Unified I want to see. So Superintendent Carvalho, know that you have a lot of partners who stand ready to work with you for greater equity in LA Unified. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you two students, Kylie Bell Butler, a 5th grade student at 99th Street Elementary School, and Kirsten Roman, a senior at Wilson High School.
Good afternoon. My name is Kylie Bell Butler, and I am a 5th grader at 99th Street Elementary School. And this is my mom, Belinda. I would like the new superintendent to know that we are excited for him to be here, and we appreciate all he is doing to make sure we are safe with COVID restrictions to get us closer to being back to normal. My fellow students and I would like him to know that we would like to not have to wait until middle school for electives and have classes like debate and language classes like French or Spanish in elementary school. If one thing could change at the district, I think it could be that we get more funding for field trips. It would be nice to be able to see things outside of our neighborhoods, like cool museums and parks, symphonies, and plays. My hope for the district is that it continues to prepare me on my path to my dream college, Juilliard, by growing performing arts programs. I also would like to make sure that all schools have fully stocked libraries that we can not only use for research, but to find books that we can lose ourselves in. Thank you, Superintendent Carvalho. It is a pleasure to meet you. Now we'll hear from Kirsten.
Thank you, Kylie. Your speech was very great. I really liked it. But hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. My name is Kirsten Roman, and I'm a senior at Wilson High School. What we would like myself and many other students to know is that throughout LA Unified, we would like Superintendent Carvalho to know that we are entrusting you to keep our schools safe, be up to date on materials for school, ensuring that every student has support and gets the best education they possibly can, and to overall be authentic and to work as hard as you can to make sure that our students are set up for their future. What I hope and what people hope for this district is that you hear and act on community members, students, and youth voices, wants, and needs. We hope that we will be given the funding and extra support to those who need it most, that those who got hit hard and are continuing to struggle with COVID and the pandemic are being given the resources they need, and that throughout any mishap that may happen in LA Unified, we will have a solution for everyone and everything. As a student who has spent a majority of my life on the East Side and who has gone to LAUSD schools throughout my whole K-12 education, I and many others want to see it prosper and grow with more opportunities, not only for our younger family members, but for all students and their families. Thank you, Superintendent Carvalho, and welcome to Los Angeles. And now I'm pleased to introduce our first video, which features the voices of students and families throughout LA Unified. Please play the video.
I hope you can help us get more playground equipment so that all students can have an opportunity to play with the equipment. I also would like for students to be able to take gardening classes so they can learn to plant nutritious foods.
My hope for the future is to increase access to student leadership development in our district.
We are the family Rangel. If you could add more programs to our schools and more benefits.
Que la ciudad de nosotros aquí, Boyle High, sea la más safety que pueda que sea para todos los estudiantes, la más seguridad para todos.
We are looking forward to seeing what you have in mind to support our students, families, and teachers, especially our Title I schools and their very unique and different challenges.
Please support family engagement's efforts. I also hope you can support programming for children with special needs. Y'all deserve love.
My expectation is that my children and every child receive the respect they deserve. My child is Black, and I want her to be seen and not passed over because of the color of her skin.
A que los niños aprendices de inglés tengan más ayuda, programas que los ayuden a reclasificar. A que el personal de los programas después de escuela tenga la capacitación para ayudar a los niños con las tareas.
And my greatest hope is to have a police-free LAUSD. Having a police-free LAUSD can redirect resources from the police and into more restorative justice practices.
As of now, we see many families fleeing the district, going to private schools or outside communities so their kids can find a better education. What we really need is a strong elementary, middle, and high school so that our community stays strong and our kids can keep the same friends all the way through their primary years.
I just really want to see problems get solved, whether it's something like helping students have access to internet from home or something as massive as helping with this whole situation of LA Unified being understaffed.
I hope that the superintendent is nice and will ask what the kids would prefer to see like their idea of learning and stuff. So he wouldn't just like rush them into anything that they wouldn't do.
Para mí, mis hijos, la escuela es su segundo hogar. Entonces, yo quisiera que hubiera más seguridad para yo estar tranquila, para yo irme a trabajar tranquila, porque la escuela es su segundo hogar de mis hijos.
I would like for you to prioritize mental health, academic support for our students. You have the opportunity to uplift our public school and our public education in our communities of working class families of color. Looking forward to working with you.
My greatest hope and expectation for the new superintendent is to be able to acknowledge and understand every voice of the students. At times, our student voices and opinions go unheard in our schools and are belittled by adults. But if the superintendent was able to put in the time and effort to communicate and acknowledge every student opinion, we really can become better, well-rounded schools.
Thank you so much. Wasn't that video amazing? First of all, at first I was like, Kylie for president. And then I saw all these fantastic students speak. And I think we have a really bright future here in Los Angeles. So if you're willing to run, I vote for any of you any day of the week. Couple things. One, we have over 700 folks who are watching. So I just want to say welcome, bienvenidos. We're really happy to have you here with us right now. And I know that the poll didn't necessarily 100% work for everyone. So because we have so many folks, we do want to have a sense of who's in the room. So we are going to relaunch that poll really quickly. And if you can fill that out for us, that would be great. And just take the next 30 seconds to choose the category that most aligns with you. All right, and then if we can launch the results. Well, we have a good cross-section of parents and teacher administrators, community-based orgs, expanded learning organizations as well. Thank you so much for joining. It's good to know who is in the room. Speaking of who's in the room, I want to thank some of our amazing elected officials and partners who've joined us today. Obviously, we heard from the wonderful Board President Gomez. I want to thank board member Nick Melvoin for joining us as well. And I also want to thank one of our colleagues that are close to our heart, board member Tanya Ortiz-Franklin, for joining us too. We also have a message from Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, who couldn't join us today, but I'll upload her message in the chat for all of us to read. And if we've missed anybody, apologies, but thank you so much for participating. Since it's Black History Month, one of my favorite quotes ever is by what I think of as the underappreciated civil rights icon, Bayard Rustin, who was the architect on the March on Washington and many of the civil rights movement tactics. He said, we need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers. And what we've been able to do is tap two of my favorite angelic troublemakers in Los Angeles to give a little bit of clarity and call to action for this moment. So join me in welcoming President of the Campaign for College Opportunity, Michelle Sequieros, who I consider a good friend, as well as Dr. David Turner III, who recently finished his PhD at Berkeley and is doing amazing work with the Brother Son Selves Coalition. Applauso for everyone. Thank you, David. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for inviting us, for putting us together. Superintendent Carvalho, welcome to Los Angeles. We are proud to host this reception, and the mosaic of organizations that are a part of this event are the reason that we love Los Angeles. And we are here to urge you to fall in love with Los Angeles, to love our children, to respect our parents, and to understand and believe in the full potential of every single student that you lead and will help guide that is currently a part of LA Unified. As a former LA Unified student and parent, there's no issue more important and dear to my heart than education. As the first in my family to go to college, to earn a degree, and to be able to run an organization, the Campaign for College Opportunity, that advocates for greater access to higher education and to closing the gaps that continue to persist in opportunity for Black, Brown, Southeast Asians across our city. You know that our city is the most diverse center of this planet. And we have the opportunity to demonstrate what multiracial, true equitable opportunity looks like. And so while we've made huge progress in increasing the level of college preparation for Black and Brown students, led by many of the organizations on this call, like Community Coalition, Inner City Struggle, Alliance for a Better Community, who pushed this school board more than 10 years ago, more than 15 years ago, to adopt A through G as the default curriculum for high school graduation so that more Black and Brown kids specifically would be prepared for college. We urge you, we celebrate the progress that has been made. We urge you to understand that it is not enough, that if we love our children and truly believe in all of their full potential, we will make sure that we close the gaps in opportunity that continue to exist, and that every student will have the preparation necessary to be able to make their own decision about exercising their full potential and going to college. Welcome to Los Angeles, bienvenido. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to the partnership for this event. David, excited to hear from you.
Awesome, thank you so much for that. And before I get started, I definitely want to thank the partnership for LA Schools for your continuous leadership in helping to bring so many people together. And I would like to thank Superintendent Carvalho for being here today. I hope this is the beginning of a long-lasting partnership between the Superintendent's office under your management and the community. As you may be aware, Los Angeles has been on the cutting edge of school climate transformation across the country, and we have no one to thank but our community partners, parents, and youth who have worked to build the type of schools that our students deserve. In the Los Angeles Unified School District, we were among the first in the country to eliminate willful-defiant school suspensions for grades K through 12 with the School Climate Bill of Rights passed by the Brother-Son Selves Coalition in 2013, building on school discipline reforms won by partners such as Cadre before us. Our movement partners at the Labor Community Strategy Center pushed the school district to eliminate the 1033 surplus military equipment program, where school police officers had access to M16 rifles and rocket launchers, while our schools didn't have updated books, facilities, or even school nurses. Students Deserve and the Students Not Suspects Coalition ended random searches, which for decades was a failed deterrent policy that collected mostly markers and whiteout while disrupting class time and criminalizing our youth. In 2020, the Police Free LAUSD Coalition pushed the district to take another big step by reallocating $25 million or 35% of the school police budget towards a Black Student Achievement Plan, which has helped to provide the necessary infrastructure to truly shift school climate away from that of jails and prisons and towards one of support and well-being. In this current moment in LAUSD history, we need a superintendent that is going to partner with the community. We need a superintendent that is going to embrace a vision for racial justice, not just provide the community with lip service and empty promises. Our partners share concerns when we learned that the school police force in Miami doubled under your tenure. I want to let you know personally that we will not go back. I repeat, we will not go back. We will not revert back to treating our children as problems before we treat them as people. Many in the education justice community are excited that you have shared some of the life experiences that our students have. There are, I'll tell you right now, there are not a lot of administrators, right? Especially at the highest levels of LAUSD who share the experiences that our students have. So there are people who are excited about that. And we hope that your lived experiences will translate to a shared vision in making schools safe and just for everyone. As you no doubt have a tough job ahead of you, as you help to steer LAUSD into recovery, please remember to partner with the community. We can be your greatest allies in this work to help make LAUSD a safe and just place for everyone. We look forward to your partnership as we continue to build a school system that is free of police and racially targeted punishment, and in LAUSD that works to get 100% of our students towards graduation and not incarceration. And now I'd like to share with you the voices of more community partners from all over Los Angeles. Please play the video.
My hope as you start your role as superintendent is that you center the voices of highest needs students and families throughout your decision-making process. It is so crucial that low-income, Black, Indigenous, and students of color have their needs heard and met by their school district.
Let's work together to enhance LAUSD-based arts programming and ensure that more young people across our city have equitable access to high-quality arts during non-school hours.
My hope is that the district will continue its efforts to support underserved students transition to higher education. I can attest to the untapped potential within these communities and how the support they receive changes the trajectory of their lives. Fight on.
We look forward to working with you and your team to continue to close equity gaps and to ensure that all barriers to success are removed for our most underserved student populations.
As you begin your new role, we hope to partner with you to continue LAUSD's legacy as a champion for early childhood for our youngest learners, to continue LAUSD's leadership on dual language and English language learner education that builds on their cultural and linguistic strengths, to partner with the Equity Alliance for LA's Kids to advance LAUSD's leadership on equity by expanding the impact of the Student Equity Need Index. As equity champions, we look forward to working together on these initiatives.
My wish is that the new superintendent engage with our place-based and collective impact effort to address issues that affect economic revitalization and environmental sustainability in South Los Angeles. This would include working with our 100 partners on issues like work-based learning, dual enrollment, and shared data agreements, as well as on fareless transit for students and greening efforts at schools. LAUSD has been a strong partner, and we look forward to the continued work ahead.
With a new focus on the Communities and Schools model, I'm hopeful that you can form strong alliances with the many in the community working toward greater good and make investments of time, effort, and resources in these partnerships.
My hope and expectation for Superintendent Carvalho are to ensure equitable and sustainable access to the arts for all students enrolled in Los Angeles Unified School District, recognizing the indispensable value the arts provide to the person, allowing for a deeper understanding of self, community, the world around us, and our purpose in it.
My greatest hopes for our new superintendent is that he'll begin his tenure with a real sense of urgency to address the profound learning loss that has taken place during the pandemic. That he will focus everyone in the district on preparing his students for success in a rapidly evolving economy. That he will provide the students with all the necessary technological tools to succeed, including high-speed internet access, and that he will genuinely welcome and engage the many business and community partners who are committed to seeing his students succeed.
And we are going to transition to one of our amazing educators, Joanna.
Thank you. Good afternoon, students, parents, teachers, community partners, and Superintendent Carvalho. My name is Joanna Mischville, and I teach 9th grade English and Advanced DLD at Math, Science, and Technology Magnet Academy at Roosevelt High School in Boyle Heights. I have been a teacher for over 16 years and a community organizer for over 26 years. As the Chicana Huichol raised in Tungva lands of Boyle Heights, I've continuously witnessed and partaken in how this community continues to manifest the hopes and dreams of its people. You are so fortunate to be stepping into a community with deeply rooted legacy of social change, a social change driven by the love for dignity and joy for those present and the next 7 generations. Our community has fought injustices for decades through an intricate weaving of a coalition of organizations. It is this connection that makes people time and again come together to create change. This is our hope as you step into this new role in LAUSD amidst the pandemic, that you become an integral part of this community of change, that you genuinely listen to the needs and visions of those who you represent versus being swayed by the political winds or potential investors who are disconnected to our families we serve. As a member of UTLA, it is important for us to know that you will continue to push for less privatized option schools and instead invest in working with us to pour support into our public schools. We look forward to seeing the system of support you plan to offer our students and families who are having difficulty staying housed due to the huge rise in housing costs in Los Angeles. We're also eager to see how you plan to support high school students whose academic growth is impacted by the fact that they have to work, and even more so now as a result of the pandemic. Overtesting our students is also a detrimental, dire issue that needs to be addressed. If universities can take the time to realize the institutional racist infrastructure of a test like the SATs, we can surely sit down and meet our students where they are at, instead of pressuring them and teachers to an overkill of draconian assessments. This effort can be fortified with your support to fully institutionalize ethnic studies in all our schools, so our students can be validated with culturally relevant anti-racist education. In asking my students what their needs are, they said viable mental health services, and of course, more reliable technology and Wi-Fi services. Yet another important topic for them is safety. They want to know what proactive, preventative, and restorative practices that do not call on the policing of our children will be instituted. And how can we make sure our transgender youth feel safe besides having something as basic as gender neutral restrooms, which rarely exist in our schools, particularly as we see the new hateful, misinformed campaign in Texas that threatens the very lives of our transgender youth and their families. It's a big role you're stepping into, but we look forward to you taking risks with us as we continue to create change. Thank you, Superintendent Carvalho. Welcome to LA Unified. And now we will hear the hopes and expectations of more educators throughout LAUSD. Play video, please.
My hope for the superintendent is to listen to stakeholders for any policy that's going to affect the classroom. Listen to your teachers, listen to your families. We know what works and what doesn't work. So take our voices into account.
My hope is our new superintendent will be the synergist for the dismantling of oppressive systems that impede our ability to effectively educate students, particularly Black students, for him to restore the joy of learning by removing punitive, divisive, and racist policies that cause unnecessary harm and trauma to all stakeholders, for him to value, listen, and effectively support school administrators by providing them with adequate support, funding, and pay.
A couple of things that I would like to see occur are diversity. I believe our males need to see strong male presence in their classrooms. So therefore, bringing in more African American teachers. I would definitely like to see the arts funded fully so that we can continue the creativity and stretching the minds and building in STEAM, which is the A in art, into our programs. And a pay raise would be really, really nice. Definitely. Thank you.
My greatest hope, and indeed my expectation for our new superintendent, is for him to actively combat the rise in privatization with which we must contend as public educators.
My hopes and dreams are the same as any, I think, parent, teacher, student. Just keep continuing to put the students first, support the teachers so they can do their jobs, provide funding.
What you should know about LAUSD students and teachers is that we're concerned about climate change. And students especially want to be a part of the solution. While living in some of the most beautiful climate conditions in the world, our students spend only a small amount of time outdoors. Let's expand green spaces to help students' minds relax and grow, and at the same time help our environment.
Moving forward, our district needs to prioritize adult SEL. We need to integrate data about educator well-being into school accountability report cards and to develop and sustain permanent on-site support teams for adults within the entire school community so that our students can continue to thrive.
One thing that is still on my mind is how we create more holistic assessments for our students rather than continuing to use such narrow criteria to evaluate who our kids are and who they have the potential to become.
My hope is that Superintendent Carvalho executes action, not just words. toward evolving Los Angeles schools to operate on the principles of justice. This entails anti-racist work and learning environments, enrichment programs, fair compensation, and the liberty to be heard and seen without judgment. Our new leader must act on the value of mental health services and programs that enable healing throughout our learning communities.
That he understands the complexity and challenges of the context that we currently live in LAUSD, but also that as complex as those situations may be, that really the best way to move forward is with love. And I hope that he understands that love is the main ingredient for how we improve our district.
Hello, Superintendent Carvalho.
We are welcoming you as our new superintendent.
Bienvenido, Superintendent Alberto, Carvalho.
Welcome to LAUSD, Superintendent Carvalho.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Welcome to LA.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
Welcome to LA.
Welcome to LA.
Welcome, Superintendent Carvalho.
And welcome indeed, Superintendent Carvalho, to Los Angeles. And hopefully you felt the love. I loved hearing the educator who said the main ingredient in the work that we do is love. And I think that is needed now more than ever, and grateful to hear the amazing voice of our educators. Speaking of voices, a couple things. I want to thank the staff members who've participated and come from board members Smirlson, McKenna, and Goldberg's offices. Really appreciate you coming. Also, I do want to say that when we talk about champions and equity champions, one of the premier equity champions in Los Angeles is in the house, somebody who I know many of us have been mentored by and guided by, and we're grateful for the dreams that she has fulfilled for many of our students. I want to welcome board member Monica Garcia. Thank you so much for watching and joining us today. Well, we're talking about priorities today. You've heard our educators, our families, our teachers, our amazing students talk about their hopes and expectations. Based on some of the questions that we received, as well as what our community partners and co-sponsors sent us, we've created a quick poll right before we hear Superintendent Carvalho of priorities that you'd like to see prioritized in the district. So we're going to put up the poll, and if you can choose two categories that you would recommend the superintendent focus on, that would be great. All right, if we can actually put up the results. All right, as you review the results, obviously they are variable, but we see 57% of folks have chosen closing equity gaps for students of color and other marginalized students. We also see social emotional learning also prioritized as well, along with advancing learning in the wake of the pandemic. Well, as we're talking about advancing learning, this is actually a really good time to pivot to the introduction of Superintendent Carvalho. And without further ado, we've asked someone who actually has a great relationship with our incoming superintendent. Someone who I also am grateful to know both in his work, but also as he's come to Los Angeles as the head of the Garcia School of Education at USC. Many of you know him, Dr. Pedro Noguera. I pass the mic to you.
Thank you, Ryan. And thank you for including me in this presentation. It made me think Zoom really does work, because it would have been possible to get this many of us together in one room to greet the new superintendent. So I want to thank the partnership. I want to congratulate the Board of Education for the unanimous vote to select the person I think is the best urban superintendent in the nation. And I think I have great expectations for Superintendent Carvalho. Welcome to Los Angeles. And I say that as a native New Yorker who has adopted LA as my home. And now, after being here 7 years, I can say that we have lots of things going for us besides the weather and the Rams and the Dodgers and the Lakers. We've got a school system, which, as you can tell from this presentation, is full of educators who are committed and of students and parents who have aspirations and hopes that these schools can fulfill. So I think this is an exciting time for Los Angeles, and I am pleased. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the superintendent in a moment, because there's a reason why when I heard that he'd been selected, I said, this is as big as bringing LeBron to the Lakers. Let me start by saying that he served for 14 years as superintendent of Miami-Dade County Schools. Consider this, the average tenure for a superintendent in this country, an urban superintendent, is 3 years. He lasted 14. That is impressive in itself. His honors include Florida Superintendent of the Year in 2014, National Superintendent of the Year 2014, the 2016 winner of the Harold McGraw Prize in Education, the 2018 National Urban Superintendent of the Year, the 2019 National Association for Bilingual Education Superintendent of the Year Award, recognition by Scholastic as the one of the Fantastic Five administrators making a difference in America. He currently serves on the National Assessment Governing Board. He was appointed by U.S. Secretary of Education Cardona. He also serves as a committee member for the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, and as advisory committee member to the Harvard Program on Education Policy and Governance. He is a dedicated member of the National Board of Directors and Common Threads and the Posse Foundation. Under his tenure, Miami-Dade County Public Schools became one of the nation's highest performing urban school systems, receiving statewide and system-wide recognition for its work in getting kids into and passing advanced placement courses. It was received award from the College Board for as Excellent District of the Year, and was a winner of the Broad Prize in Education. Superintendent Carvalho is an instructional leader at heart, and he has been a teacher, a principal. He's held all the positions. He comes to us as someone who understands the importance of keeping teaching and learning as the central focus. It is my pleasure to introduce Superintendent Alberto Carvalho.
Thank you very much, Dr. Noguera, my dear friend Pedro, for that very kind and lengthy introduction. Thank you, Joan, Ryan, Kathy, and Chevalier from the Partnership for LA Schools for all the work you do to bring this event together. And obviously, thank you to the many co-sponsors for hosting this reception. I want to take a brief moment to thank the leadership of my school board, beginning with its President Kelly Gomez, Vice President Malvoin, and all of the board members who are attending this important event today. Your partnership, your involvement, and your presence are meaningful, not only to me personally, but to this entire community. And importantly, thank you to the families, the students, the remarkable students, inspired and inspirational students and the staff who took the time to elevate the hopes, the dreams, the expectations manifested through your voice, your agency in the videos and the remarks that I listened to and I observed. I am inspired. Actually, I am hopeful. Much of what I heard today from your voice quite frankly, reflect everything I believe in. Improving college readiness, safety of students, elevating student voice, focusing our attention on the social and emotional needs of our students, eliminating racist practices in our community, beginning with those practices in our schools, lifting academic performance and opportunity for every single student, identifying the environmental threats and addressing them through a lens of equity, creating green spaces where today there is asphalt and concrete. All those elements are important to me as they are important to you and are reflected in my 100-day plan. In fact, let me rephrase that. The plan is no longer mine. The plan belongs to us. It belongs to this community. For its implementation requires each and every one of us to put our collective shoulder to this important boulder and move it up the hill, leaving no one behind, fearing not the outcome. That is my commitment to you. I wanted to give this audience today a preview of that plan that we'll be releasing at around 4 p.m. today. In fact, as I address you, the plan will go live. So indeed, it is hot off the presses. And I hope you see some of our collective and shared priorities reflected in this document. This is not a static document. It is a document that is dynamic by design in nature. It has benefited from the inputs of many in our community. But before I dive into some of its actions, I want to introduce myself to you. I am Alberto Carvalho. I am a son born into poverty, to a family of 6. Both parents combined had no more than six years of formal education. Neither one of them got past 3rd grade. My father was a custodian, my mother a seamstress. My 2 older siblings died of preventable diseases because of nothing more, nothing less than the condition that surrounded us. I was the first one and only in my family to graduate high school until years later I was able to put my youngest brother through high school and college. I left my country much like many of you, much like many of our parents in our great diverse community. Yes, I was undocumented in New York at the age of 17. Still in poverty, experiencing homelessness, often abused and insulted for nothing more, nothing less than the accent in my voice, often picked on and humiliated. I'm here to tell you, I see myself in the eyes of the children in our community. I see myself in the hopes and dreams, the aspirations of the students we serve. I see myself in the determination, courage, the passion, and compassion of the teachers and leaders and support staff in this district that serve to elevate the dignity and the humanity of our students. I see myself in your resiliency as a team, Los Angeles Unified. So this plan is rooted in beliefs of equity, in beliefs of empowerment and excellence. You see, much like you, I believe, we collectively believe that we must unapologetically address the persistent opportunity gaps that are disproportionately reflected in the Black and Latinx communities. We believe in empowerment, true empowerment that reflects the voice, the will, the presence of everyone at the exclusion of no one. That the demands of our students and stakeholders, their voice should always drive our actions. And these actions engage and acknowledge the many voices who have a vested interest in the success of our school system. Obviously, we believe in excellence. The communities served by Los Angeles Unified deserve the best and the most exemplary education possible. You will see in the graphic on the right the components of this plan. You see, the plan complements the powerful work already underway at Los Angeles Unified and centers around 4 key tasks: learn, assess, communicate, and act. I know some of you will say this is too much, too far, too fast. Some will say it should go deeper and faster. Therein lies the perfect balance, the sweet spot of progress and cadence and frequency of attention to the issues that matter to all of us. My friends, these tasks will gather information to lay the foundations for the forthcoming strategic plan, one that currently does not exist in our district. That plan will illustrate a vibrant and robust picture of success at Los Angeles Unified. And I know when I talk about Los Angeles Unified, it is a huge tapestry of diversity, a pixelation of hope and opportunity. Let us not forget that when that tapestry, when that curtain opens, there will always be pockets of underperforming, invisible, unacknowledged communities. We shall elevate them. We shall give them voice. We shall acknowledge them. We shall accelerate them. That is our mission. That is our plan. In fact, this document is a reflection of my numerous school visits, conversations with students, with families, with employees, with labor partners, with civic leaders, with district leadership and board members. But in order to do this, first, we have to acknowledge what we know, what we don't know, and what we must learn from our communities. In the first 100 days, we will create opportunities to listen to the community that we serve in Los Angeles. I consider what was shared today as one of these opportunities. So thank you already for your important input on the priorities that belong to you and me alike. As a list of co-sponsors and attendees to this event demonstrate, Los Angeles has a deep history of engagement, meaningful engagement, protest, manifestation, demand, organizing communities, leading to empowerment of employees, students, and families. Enough said about where we were. Today, here we are, and the future shall be bright. For in this district, we have a tremendous wealth of knowledge and experience, and above all, determination. Skill alone is not enough. We need to muster up the will and the courage to do the hard lift that lies ahead of us. You see, the lived experiences of our students and families are valuable indicators of how we can improve and sustain the quality of our services. This team, you and I, will work diligently to engage with as many folks as possible across a range of platforms and forums. And I know that through engagement and collaboration, we will ensure that beyond the first 100 days, we will continue to inform and build the plans and actions that will follow. We will also have a team conducting internal and external data collection so we can evaluate a range of factors about the state of our students, where they are, what is impacting them, affecting them, our workforce and school communities. This information is powerful and sometimes disturbing, but we need it. We need tools to ensure that the information is accessible and clearly defines where our students stand in terms of academics, in terms of social, emotional wellness, in terms of threats, in terms of stressors, in terms of all of the conditions that impact their ability to learn, and quite frankly, their full fulfillment of the joy that belongs to them. For example, we will review student performance data across the entire school system to determine equitable student outcomes. Importantly, data will be disaggregated by race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, language proficiency, exceptional needs, and other key characteristics. It is not lost to us that conditions in a community, the level of crime, the earned income of families, the level of education of those families are key elements that impact a student's ability to learn. These findings will help us identify ways in which district funding is more equitably and efficiently used to drive student achievement and well-being. Another key task will be to undertake an extensive communication strategy with both our internal stakeholders as well as the Board of Education. This will be a two-way highway, a bridge that will establish new and enhanced communication opportunities for us and for the communities we serve. This is crucial to building coherence across our school system so that I can work with my team and our amazing network of employees and the board to ensure efficient governance, accountability, and responsiveness to the school community. We will also enhance public-facing communication strategies by strengthening our digital footprint and creating opportunities for conversations, a dialogue with community members. You may have noticed I appreciate the power of social media as one democratic way of sharing stories and engaging the community. Meet me there. You see, people across the country are watching Los Angeles unified, and often they bet against it. They are confused by the strength of our diversity, the local voice that is so powerful to so many. And that sometimes is threatening. Let us show them this new America, what we are made of. And let's promote the incredible educators, our employees, our families, our advocates, and our students who do the work every day. I also want to take a moment here to emphasize engagement. Communication, collaborative moments happen every day for me. Those conversations and communications are ongoing and crucial to how I and this team will lead. And then, of course, we must act. There is an urgency associated with today's moment. To hear from our stakeholders, to learn about where the greatest gaps in opportunity lie, and not to act with urgency is simply not acceptable. Our students in our schools are facing a crisis, and they do not have 10 years to wait on a system to figure out how it wants to improve. Our students in our society cannot wait for that. For justice, way delayed is certainly denied. It was true 50 years ago, it is true today. So within the next 100 days, we will take some immediate actions. We will address the staffing challenges ahead of our school system. We'll review and assess our COVID-19 protocols. We will continue to be guided by science and the expert advice of medical and public health experts. We will launch summer school programs at all of our Title I schools. You see, our students and our families cannot wait. This spring semester is crucial time to meet families and students in schools where they are and accelerate the recovery and acceleration of their learning and their wellness. I recognize that many of our students and their families are in crisis, but let's be honest, they were in crisis prior to the pandemic. Systemic racism, inequities, poverty, English language limitation, immigration condemnations have put them in crisis. It is our collective responsibility not only to elevate them to where they were prior to the pandemic, but to surpass that level and bring to them the bountiful opportunity realized by so many in this country. During this time, we will also develop plans that address a number of key priorities. You see, I heard a number of these priorities actually reflected in what I heard from all of you today. A few examples of these plans will be focused on developing a long-awaited strategic plan. We will continue the progress and accelerate our Black Student Achievement Plan. We will outline plans to best support our English language learners and students with disabilities, recognizing the powerful abilities specific to every child. My friends, you need to understand that in my world, I don't see the visibility that many see associated with broken children. However, I do see broken systems that break their dreams and their aspirations. So we will expand opportunities to dignify the existence of children in our community, to enhance early childhood education, where we engage directly with new families at birth, with opportunities to learn with us. I want to lay out a plan for a parent academy alongside our philanthropic and community partners. We have some amazing empowered parents in LA Unified, thanks to our current work training families. I hope that this academy will in fact elevate the needs of our parents, create an echo of learning at home, empower them personally, civically, empower their voice, and magnify their demand as the fuel force of transformation across our district. We will develop a plan for cultural and artistic enrichment through a passport to give all of our students and families with access to the fine arts, to cultural programming, to outdoor events and enrichment opportunities throughout the entire school year. Imagine this: every third grade student, fifth grade, seventh grade, ninth grade, 11th grade, navigating a portfolio of artistic experiences. Why not? We are in LA. This is the place of Hollywood, where wealth and opportunity is at every corner. side by side with oppression and depression. We shall change that. Los Angeles has so much to offer, a creative hub that produces amazing artists, leaders, and visionaries. Our students deserve as many opportunities to experience these amazing assets in our city. In a process, we will elevate what kids eat, the air they breathe, the environmental conditions. We will stress nutrition and locally sourced food into our kitchens and cafeterias. I do not expect a child in this district to eat food I myself would not eat. See, these actions will be informed by ongoing learning with the community, an assessment of current practices and policies in a respectful and negotiated way. And yes, we will communicate these actions and their outcomes in clear and transparent ways to you. I do look forward to hearing from you and learning and collaborating with you. The full plan is available as we speak at the website link you see here. Additional languages are coming soon. We will also immediately start to engage via the survey, focus groups, and other town hall style sessions very soon. It is clear the partnership can turn people out to engagement events. So we hope to have all of the guests here today join us to help spread the word about change, the word about opportunity. Let us dream big. Let us realize big for our children. Find ways in which you can involve. I want to thank you in advance. Thank you for your vision, your dream, your partnership, your advocacy, your strong voice. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you for your friendship. And as one of the speakers said, thank you in advance for your love of mission, your love of children, and your love of public education, the bedrock of our democracy. Thank you so much. And I look forward to answering some of your questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Carvalho, for those compelling words and for previewing your 100-day plan with this group of folks. You've received a lot of questions, by the way, which I think shows that people are listening and are excited to engage with your leadership. So first of all, as a native Angelino, we've heard from a lot of folks from the East Coast. As a native Angelino who grew up on the Lakers and Dodgers, I just want to say welcome to Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the warm welcome. You know, I've had nothing but love since I arrived here in Los Angeles.
Great. And if you need any restaurant tips, let me know. I can help you out, my brother. So a couple things. One, your plan actually mentioned equity. And I think I'm going to start here because we got a lot of questions about equity. One of the things that is often said, and I think Joan alluded to this, is like, equity is the new coconut water, but maybe I'll update that to equity is like the new kombucha, right? It's the trend everyone's talking about, but not everyone's necessarily drinking. So we're in the second largest district in the nation, in one of the most linguistically diverse states in the nation as well. And when we think about the importance of equity, we know that there's a lot of different definitions. So we know that there's organizations like Community Coalition Literacy Struggle, the Advancement Project, and the Partnership who fought for the Student Equity Needs Index. We know that folks are talking about how we really center and prioritize multilingual learners. Foster youth and homeless youth are in that discussion as well. So can you give me a definition of equity from your perspective and how you'll center equity work in your tenure as the new superintendent?
Well, I think my definition of equity is quite frankly very parallel to your definition of equity and to the definition of equity as spoken by so many voices that I observe and listen to today. And you're right. Everybody speaks it, but not everybody does it or practice it. But ultimately, equity to me means righting current and historical wrongs of our systems so that all students can thrive. As I said earlier, I've never met a broken student, only broken systems. Equity in practice also means centering the voices of Black, Latinx, Indigenous, English language learners, foster, special education students, those who have recently arrived, those who are under threat of immigration. It also reflects this desire and need to budget how we collaborate with our labor and community partners, how and what we teach and how we staff schools, differentiating the support, the attention, the resource investment on the basis of those who never got enough. In many schools, we see equitable practices in action. This, however, must hold true in all schools, not just some of the time, but all the time, especially in historically underserved communities like South LA, the East Side or Southeast LA, and the East San Fernando Valley. See, we must address the opportunity gaps and disrupt the well-known generational and systemic manifestations of discrimination and racism in our communities. An example of equity, for example, would be to connect all of our families to devices and the internet. For connectivity provides an opportunity for learning beyond the last bell. If it's good for some, it ought to be good for everyone. But we cannot all start at the same departure point. For many communities have never had an opportunity to start at the right place. Now, I know the partnership has been an ally on this and is crucial to ensuring we have the structures, the investments, and the voice in place to advance equity, to advance access and opportunity. And the last thing I will tell you is that, look, many of our communities, many of our kids have been under exacerbated inequities as a result of the pandemic. So let's erase those gaps and let's get ourselves to a far better place than we were before the pandemic. Simply taking us to where we were prior to the pandemic is a condemnation to the level of crisis that many in our community were already in. That is not enough.
Thank you for that, Superintendent. And I'll actually pick up where you ended, which is resonating from a lot of the questions that we're getting, which is how do we respond to the pandemic? So a couple things. One, we know that parents became even more essential partners in educating our children. They were already essential, became even more essential during the pandemic. We realized that oftentimes our systems can be siloed, but what had to come together during the pandemic, our health systems, our education systems, organizations working on food insecurity and housing insecurity in order to really support the whole child and really whole families. One of the initiatives that the district continues to lead on is community schools, and really thinking about how we support the whole child and how we provide wraparound services and how we deepen family community engagement. I want to get your take on community schools and how we can continue to expand that effort, particularly in the wake of the pandemic.
Community schools or any other opportunity to actually take a holistic approach to school improvement, to the natural narrative and dialogue that exists between communities and the schools themselves is a good step, a strong step in the right direction. In fact, I recently met with community school team members and partners in this work. It resonates with me. Look, community schools are best defined by the assets that they bring. LA has a number of great community organizations and family and school leaders in this very space. The wraparound supports, the community-centered engagement activities, the decision-making process. These are types of attributes and engagements that build successful, resilient students through these community partnerships. So number one, I look forward to working with those engaged in the community schools to maximize the new revenues and dollars at the state and federal levels to support this work. Secondly, I will be inviting other entities to join us under the same tent of opportunity for the benefit of our kids. And together, I believe, through community schools, but also through many other approaches, we can elevate student voice and in the process elevate student achievement. This is the time in our collective history after the pandemic when we demonstrated that together we could go farther and deeper and be better at what we do, to actually continue that work, not lose that energy of collaboration. And community schools are a great crystallization of what that opportunity can in fact become.
Thank you for that. We've talked a little bit about services and supports. We've talked a little about equity. I want to hone in a little bit on student groups because you talked about closing equity gaps. I'm appreciative of the way that we've raised racial justice and social justice issues. One of the things that we don't often talk about in this vein is language justice and how we can support the unique needs of multilingual learners and English learners across the district. Obviously, historically, these things are seen as a deficit, but in the district, and what my sense of the work has been that we're looking on building on the assets of English learners in order to advance their academic and social emotional learning. So my question for you is, how will you focus on this really important population in your tenure as superintendent?
Well, let me begin by saying that I see myself in the eyes of these kids. I said earlier, I came to this nation as an unaccompanied minor, not speaking English. I'm doing a little bit better now. But so often I was criticized for the accent that I had and given no credit for the fact that I spoke more than one language. So I'm here to tell you, better to speak more than one accented language than being limited to a single way of communicating with a fellow human being. What made my journey possible was education, opportunity, and support. Every student should be able to have these quality opportunities in our schools. Too often, students who do not yet speak English at a proficient level and students with disabilities may be isolated from enrichment opportunities, from advanced academic opportunities, isolated from their peers. We need to break down those walls. We need to open doors and open windows through which they can actually move through. Some of our schools are serving these students in a beautiful way. In the next 100 days, we will look at exactly which ones are those schools replicating the best practices, amplifying the opportunity, empowering educators and parents to implement proven inclusion practices for students with disabilities, engaging students, families who do not yet speak English alongside their children, using the power of teaching and support to make meaningful connections. And in the end, bring together the partners who actually occupy this space and are supporting us in terms of elevating achievement and the wellness for these students. The second point I'd like to make, not as specific to English language learners, is the fact that we have a lot of work to do. For we have English speakers who would benefit from the universality of a foreign language, a second language, of dual language programs. We ought to emphasize those as well. Anywhere there is an inequity, there is leadership and opportunities for additional support and investments. Count on me to elevate those opportunities to areas where right now there are deserts. We will fill those deserts with critical programs, with support systems for the benefit of all kids in our community.
Thank you for that. You know, we're running out a little bit of time, but I want to make sure to get this question in because we've gotten it from a number of our partners, both before and during this event. Well, you know, this month is Black History Month, but obviously we don't just talk about the needs of Black students and families during this month. We talk about it year round, but there's a lot of focus and attention right now on supporting and advancing the needs of Black students. You'd mentioned the Black Student Achievement Plan at the district as well. We see really persistent equity gaps and disparities that remain for Black students, whether it is in school climate challenges of overrepresentation regarding discipline issues, or if it's in looking at some of the stubborn academic achievement challenges that we know, to your point, have nothing to do with the brilliance of our students, but everything to do with the systems that are in place. How will you center your work on ensuring that we're closing equity gaps and dismantling disparities for Black students?
So as you correctly acknowledged, I mean, this district has focused a number of resources on Black student achievement. In fact, it has dedicated not only resources, attention, and leadership. This is a priority of the school board. And because it is, and because the realities that you just depicted are so evident to all of us, that is why this is a crucial part of our 100-day plan and work that will inspire our actions every single day with a laser-focused approach to the issue. I really believe that we are not successful in supporting Black student achievement until we see high academic performance, strong social, emotional wellness, and a positive cultural identity where the curriculum, educators, school leaders reflect our Black student population. And yes, to the voices that I heard, that requires a new pipeline that identifies future colleagues into our workforce that are representative, that are visible to the young students in our schools. I am proud of the work that the Black Student Achievement Plan team has done. Some of their key recommendations in the plan are the right direction, and we will support and actually accelerate that work. Part of the Learn Plan of action that I describe in my 100-day plan includes a focused effort to engage Black students, families, and educators, to understand their performance level, to understand the gap. But we cannot do this alone. We need their voices and experiences to get to a place of equity, of achievement, and ultimately educational justice. Let us really learn where we are. Let us understand the gap. Let us understand the leading factors that create the gap. Let us understand the social factors and the opportunity gaps that lead to the achievement gap. Only then can we wrap leadership and the action steps to narrow that gap. Look, I come from a place of truth and honesty. No one in the country has been able to address that gap in a satisfactory way. We tried in Miami, and yes, we moved the needle. Did we close it? No, we didn't. The advantage in this community is I am now in a community that acknowledges in a powerful, courageous, and honest way the existence of this gap. It has actually not only acknowledged it, but tackled it in an effective way with a resonating, powerful voice from the community as a whole. I hope to collect on that energy. I hope to enhance your disappointment and turn the frustration into energy to actually close the gap. We will see advanced academic programming in areas where right now it is almost non-existent. We will expand high quality choice and options for parents within our public school system that is accountable to our school board and to our communities in areas where right now it does not exist at a sufficient level. We will provide before and after school academic and social support to Black students. We will support their parents. We will bring safety to the streets and safe passage to the schools. If we do not do this, we will not create the educational justice that is a precursor to the narrowing of the achievement gap.
Well, thank you for the thorough response there. And I will say this, we have run out of time for Q&A, and I have so many more questions I can ask you, but we want to commit, this is an ongoing discussion between you and not just the partnership, but the community partners, the parents, the students who want to engage as you start your journey.
So I want to say once again, thank you for the opportunity. Look, my heart and my mind are open doors. Let's connect. Let's meet where kids are. Let's meet where parents are. Let's meet where teachers are. My social media feed is open. Let me have your opinions. Let me have your recommendations, your perspectives, your perceptions, and even your criticism. This is an environment where the discussion in the community and the boiling of opportunity to be self-evident to everyone who cares about kids. I did not come to LA to fail. For if I fail, we fail our kids. The country often loves to blame and bet against LA. We're going to elevate LA Unified School District as the premier urban district in the nation. I guarantee it. But to get there, we cannot be alone in this work. Principals and teachers cannot be alone in this endeavor. Our entire community needs to show up, speak up, and step up. We need to stand tall for our children. Individuals from all walks of life, all zip codes, all levels of education, all levels of social economic strata need to come together and elevate the dignity and humanity of our children. Let's create the opportunity. Let's deliver on the dream. I'm here, I'm committed. Join me.
Thank you for that, and appreciate that. Once again, this is the beginning and not the end of a conversation. And we're running a little bit behind, so I am going to pivot to, you mentioned amazing parent academies. And you've mentioned the importance of your journey as an immigrant here to the United States. I want to highlight folks who are really centering their work on that. I'm bringing up an amazing parent, Kiana Stepney, who is a parent at Jordan High School, as well as I mentioned Angelica Troublemakers, somebody who is a national champion on this issue, Angelica Salas, who's the executive director of CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kiana Stepney, and I'm the parent of 3 LAUSD students. Currently a policy advisory board member, advocating for my children's education for more than 15 years. As a parent, my one hope for Superintendent Carvalho and the district is to create a district which strengthens, supports, and boosts the academic achievement of African-American students. District-wide, only 2 out of 10 African-American students are proficient or on grade level in math, while only 3 out of 10 are proficient in English. Educational outcomes for Black and minority children are a direct result of their unequal access to key educational resources. I'm asking Superintendent Carvalho to fund more programs to benefit African-American students and prioritize Black student achievement. Thank you, Superintendent Carvalho. We're happy to have you in the City of Angels, and now I will turn it over to Angelica Salas. Angelica?
Thank you, Kiana. Good afternoon. My name is Angelica Salas. I'm the Executive Director of CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. And our mission is to create a just society fully inclusive of immigrants. Bienvenido, Superintendente Carvalho. CHIRLA works directly with LAUSD students, immigrant students and their families to ensure that they're empowered to fight for their rights as immigrants and for the quality education that they deserve. Student parents are educated about the resources that are available to them to pursue higher education, regardless of their immigration status. That is why LAUSD schools are safe zones and will not allow immigration authorities on or near their campuses. CHIRLA is active in 13 LAUSD high schools and works with a core group of student leaders who are now at their early and young age, leading campaigns for full inclusion in society, access to education, protection from deportation for themselves and their families. And guess what? We're taking you up on your request of engagement. Our youth leaders will be reaching out to you so in the coming days to have a conversation with you. Superintendent Carvalho, as you reflect today, I ask you to keep in mind the special diversity of Los Angeles County, including 3.5 million Angelenos who are immigrants, 6,000 of them who are undocumented. I also want you to understand that 7% of your student body is an immigrant, but hear this, over half, 52% of the K through 12 students are children of immigrants. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. It's incredibly inspirational. And I know you're personally aware of the many challenges that immigration status and low income status can pose on immigrant youth and families. We want to work with you to ensure the success of immigrant students and their families. I'm so proud to join my colleagues across our region who are endeavoring to create conditions here for LAUSD students so that they can thrive. Why? Because they're being invested in. I'm so impressed by the show of strength that is visible today. So I hope you could see the incredible strength that has been demonstrated by so many of the organizations, parents, and individuals who joined today. You're not alone. We are behind and with you. We're standing shoulder to shoulder in order to make sure that our community thrives and our students thrive. Your words and your plan inspire us to believe that student empowerment and student achievement are possible. With this in mind, I want to make sure that you hear from us our call to action. We want to make sure that, like you said, we're expanding and deepening partnerships with parents and students and educators, and that they're part of the planning and the decision-making, ensuring the district prioritizes their voices moving forward. That you're offering students and families more health and social emotional services in partnership with community-based organizations and other agencies to ensure that they are physically and socially and emotionally ready to learn. That you're providing greater resources for staff, supports to schools that serve our historically underserved students, including English learners, Black, Latino, foster, immigrant, homeless, LGBTQ plus youth, and that you're also ensuring our students graduate with options and success in higher education, career, leadership, and in life. We're so hopeful for the many years of your experience and the leadership you bring. We're excited to partner with you and to continue leading with innovation to transform our district. And I want you to hear this. We're ready to roll up our sleeves with you and work with you. Now, I want to just say thank you so much for the Partnership for Los Angeles Schools for bringing us together. And thank you, Ryan, for being such an incredible leader in our community. Back to you, Ryan.
Thank you so much, Angelica. You see why we asked Angelica to close out. That was fantastic. And as Angelica mentioned, we are here with you. We are excited to bring in a new leader, but we also know our district is a composition of all the parents, the students, the educators we've heard today. This is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And as the fearless leader of the partnership mentioned, equity must be at the center of the discussion. So thank you so much. Do us a favor, please fill out the exit ticket that was just included in the chat so that we can get good feedback. If you want to see other conversations like this, let us know. And I will end on this point. One of the themes I heard today was about love, about how we love the folks who are on the front line supporting our students, how we uplift our students in love, how we make sure that we're wrapping around our students with love and joy. So I wish you a lot of love, Superintendent Carvalho. You are going to not only receive these videos, but the 80 organizations have collected dozens of videos across the district, across the city, across the county, giving you their hopes and expectations for the future. Consider that our love letter to you. Continue to listen to the voices of those who are most impacted by the work that you do as you continue to lead. And may you always lead with a sense of love and purpose. Thank you all. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a really good afternoon. Thank you for staying with us as we're running a little bit behind, and we appreciate your attendance. Take care.